Welcome back to the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Watkins, and if you love college football, you are definitely in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring that bell so you don't miss one moment of the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. Welcome back to the show, everybody. So glad to see everybody here. Hey, man, that was James. Thank you so much for saying that right off the bat. I, for one, wanted to start off the show with a little bit of Mike Leach memories. I have a tribute video. I'll probably leave that for the very end of the show because it's a little long. It's I think about 11 or 12 minutes. So I'll pop it up there at the end. But we were going to talk about that a little bit. Also, talk about there's been some big recruiting gains for Oklahoma here over the last few days. Looks like you're going to have some more big ones as well. Um, you know, and then gonna have to talk a little bit about Caleb Williams in the Heisman Trophy, but it'd probably be something that you OU fans like. So relax about that. But we'll talk about that towards the end as well. First off, just starting off again, appreciate everybody for showing up to the live stream. We've been doing really well as far as everything goes with adding subscribers. We're getting close. Only need a couple hundred more, and then we're in as far as having the monetized, being able to go monetize. So go ahead and if you're not a subscriber, please go ahead and hit that button now, and make sure that you like our videos as well. All the interaction that we can get on the show helps out everybody tremendously. Again, so just if you're not a subscriber, please go ahead and hit that button. And if you are a subscriber, that'd be great. Just hit that like button and we'll go from there. Talking a little bit about Mike Leach. Obviously, he had a massive heart attack on Sunday, or Saturday. Sorry. At his home, and apparently didn't have medical attention for at least 10 or 15 minutes. He passed away this morning at the age of 61. Really sad deal. I covered Texas Tech football for a while, and got to know Coach Leach a little bit. So that was, it was he was a good guy. He's definitely a different cat, man. And it's one of those things where you just don't expect it. I mean, it wasn't that long ago he was over there. He's just doing what he does. He's a quirky guy. He always had something funny to say. The tribute video, is just a lot of his crazy quotes and things like that. And I think that that's kind of been what everybody has done over the last 24 hours or whatever, or really since he got sick even. He was a really good coach. Coach, he was. And I'll tell you something. I don't remember. I don't know. It seems like I don't really remember those guys ever really doing much, when it came to Texas Tech. Just wasn't really on the map until he got there. I know that Spike Dykes did his thing for a while there. I think that was a bit before my time, as far as remembering it anyway. But I just know that once Coach Leach got to Lubbock, it was a different deal. And you could see them beating Texas from time to time and beating Oklahoma even every once in a while. And he was the only one that was doing that, And so to me, it was for him to. I remember that year whenever when they beat Texas with the Michael Crabtree play. What a game, man! What a freaking game! And so it's a sad thing. One of the things that I came across, and I don't know why I'd never heard this story before. I love the story about the fake game plan. The fake game plan there with the with the Texas game. When he was at Oklahoma, I guess as the offensive coordinator, he had one of the GAs drop a game plan that a Texas GA found and immediately took to the locker room. Obviously, Oklahoma did what they did, and they went up 17-0 in that game and won it. But and I don't know that it was all about that, but that was just, funny deal. But, and yeah, coach, you're right. He was. I mean, look, he went to Pullman, Washington at a time when Washington State was trash, and they just put up PlayStation numbers everywhere he was. Another thing I remember a lot about was well, obviously when they fired him at Tech, and that was, to me, that was the stupidest thing ever. I mean, and it was all over Craig James's son, Adam, and him having a concussion. And what does Leach do? He does what they're doing a lot of now, was putting him into dark areas, dark rooms and stuff, so that he wasn't out in the sun. Now we know that that's something that you're supposed to do. Um, that because I can just thinking about Dylan Gabriel getting hurt earlier this year against TCU, and he was talking about how he didn't watch TV, didn't even look at his phone, at least for the first few days, so that he could, recover quicker. And, that was one of those things where, at that point, nobody really knew about that. But, now that's common practice. It's something that you don't do. And they fired him over it. And, to me, I always kind of felt like there was something else behind that. I know he had kind of gotten pretty full of himself around Lubbock. He won more games than anybody else had. He had put them on the map. I mean, that year that they beat Texas, and on the Michael Crabtree thing, they were close to getting into the, they were one of those teams that they were talking about them being in the BCS game. Obviously, they lost a game or two down the stretch that kept them out of that. But he had taken that program to heights it hasn't seen since, and it hadn't seen before. So that was pretty amazing. Turning Washington State, as we said, into a winner, twice the AP Coach of the Year. And then, of course, he was winning at Mississippi State also, which is, if you know anything about SEC football, they're usually not that good. And so for him to go there and really just kind of, I mean, they just won the Egg Bowl a couple of weeks ago, and against a team that they probably shouldn't have beaten. He did more with less, like Kirk said. This guy did more with less. He didn't have to have 4- and 5-star recruits to win. And, that's a good question, Hawaiian Isaiah. They got to be hurting. They got to be hurting tremendously. Everybody the entire school is, and really all of college football is. And I remember thinking yesterday, maybe I hope he gets better. I hope he comes through this. And not really for football, but kind of for college football, because college football Saturdays are better with Mike Leach. When Mike Leach was there, it's better. It's just better that way. So it's going to be tough on adjustments for everybody, I think, moving forward. And I just, I know myself, I hope everybody prays for the family, and we all kind of hope that he makes it, that everybody kind of gets through this. And yeah, I know they are going to play in that bowl game. I would imagine that there's not anything going to keep them from it. That'll be an emotional time for the team, for the school. But as I said, I think it's an emotional time for anybody who's a fan of college football, even whether you liked them or didn't like them, as far as the teams that he coached and stuff like that. I don't know a whole lot of people that had a problem with, he would expect them to play. Yes, he would, coach. I don't know. I can't imagine too many people that disliked Mike Leach. But again, any of the memories that you guys may have had, feel free to share them as we're going through this. Again, I just feel like, it's a tough time. It's a tough time. I don't have a whole lot of words for it. When I woke up this morning and saw that he had passed, you just kind of reflect on it a little bit, in the times that I got to meet him whenever I was covering Tech and talk to him and stuff. And he was fun. And, all the stuff that you see on television about, where he just didn't talk football a whole lot. you'd be there trying to get a preview story or something like that. And, really Coach Roybal, was kind of like that a bit too, that we'd end up talking about all kinds of different stuff. So, that was, it was funny that I had been around Coach Roybal before that. And just, I always remember that we would talk about stuff besides football a lot. And then whenever, it was like that again whenever I was covering tech and got to be around Coach Leach. Is like he just didn't really talk about football much. You'd ask him a football question and he'd go into something else, and it kind of like, how the hell am I going to write a story with this preview story? How am I going to do that? Because he didn't care. He didn't care, and it was funny. It was fun stuff, and I've got some cool stories about him, but I'll keep some of those to myself. But anyway, college football is going to miss him. And yeah, wow, James, I didn't really think about that. But yeah, and I wouldn't have believed that he was. I mean, you wouldn't have thought that 2 weeks ago. I mean, he was giving that running back a hard time about toughness and stuff, and that running back that went on there. I was glad to see that he had tweeted out before he passed away that he hoped he got better soon. He was saying that he hated to see that. He didn't come in, and it didn't come off to me as, he was just apologizing because Coach Leach had a heart attack or anything like that. I think he probably feels pretty bad about that as well. Anyway, yeah. Oh, you better win their bowl game. Maybe Hawaiian. And I guess you're new here a little bit, but I really think more than anything, the fact that Oklahoma made the bowl was kind of the main thing. That I know that I've thought about, and a lot of the people have been talking about, is it was just important to get one just for those extra practices, and then probably for recruiting as well. As far as recruiting goes, it's been going very well for Oklahoma over the past weekend. Obviously, with let's see. So they hosted the McCullough brothers. You had Daeh McCullough. I think that's how you say it. I'm not positive, but if I'm not saying it right, Daeh McCullough went to Indiana. He is an edge rusher. Kirk, I don't think he was. It was Mangino was the OC at that time. Whenever he was there right after that. But I'm pretty sure it was Mangino that was the offensive coordinator at that time. As far as when they won the national title, pretty sure. Let's see, what did he say? To me, the bowl is merely an evaluation. Yeah, and that's kind of what we were talking about. Yeah, I feel like they should. I mean, maybe they win, maybe they don't. The thing about Florida State has they've got a good quarterback. And I don't know, what they're going to be bringing into it. Bowl games are a little touchy and different these days. And just like Bobby was saying just now, I think the main thing is that you want to evaluate what you have on the younger kids. You would hope that they play a little better defense, I would think. At least, I mean, sometimes you're going to give up some points and stuff. It's a bowl game. It's just kind of how it goes. But I think the main thing that you want to see is some improvement. And we have seen improvements on the defensive side of the ball, even though they gave up a ton of points. I mean, the last time out, throughout the year, you saw where they would make adjustments and do stuff like that. I would say, yeah, in the 99 season. Okay, so it was before. So it was before he left, before the national championship season then? So it was just that 1 year? Because I know he was coaching for sure with, yeah, okay. I'll buy that. I don't remember exactly when it was anyway, so okay. That sounds good to me. Anyway, as Bobby was saying, I feel like the bowl you want to evaluate and see where they are and see what happened. You have 15 extra practices because of that game. You would hope that you get some improvements out of that. Now, do you want to beat Florida State? Of course. Of course, that's what you want. I mean, you want them to beat them. That being said, again, this hasn't been a season that anybody from Oklahoma has been excited about. Um, I think that the more that I have gone through, and this is something I was saying actually to Bobby earlier, the longer since the season ended, and I mean, obviously that wasn't something that we enjoyed seeing them losing to Tech, uh, and particularly when you put up 48 points. Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I'm kind of talking about. Particularly when you put up that many points and you still lose, that just kind of really highlighted just how much there was lost from this football team with Lincoln Riley leaving. 44% of the team was turned over, but I think the biggest thing, and it's not even really that number, there was 37 total players that were gone from the team that were on the team last year. But 13 of those players that were somewhere in that defensive depth chart were gone. And that wasn't even a great defense. Okay. Then you turn around and you have 13 of those players are gone. The only players that really played a whole lot, or that played much at all from the year before, were really Woody Washington, obviously Redmond, and then Stutzman was playing some. But aside from those guys, there really just wasn't a whole lot of guys that had been there and had any experience. And on top of that, even the ones that did had any kind of experience at all, they were not experienced in the Brent Venables defense, which, as we all know, is very, very different. Yeah, I'm sure you were, Coach. Yeah, Coach was excited about it. He's a big OU fan. That defense was just different. And it's a lot more, well, schematically, everything else, it's a lot more advanced as far as you need to be in the places that you're supposed to be in. It'll work great, but it's not anything like the speed defense that Alex Grinch had before, which we know wasn't great anyway when it comes to even this season. USC, as I'm going to talk about here in a few minutes, they were, allowing a lot of points too. A lot of points, Same kind of deal when you have that many guys, that the ones that you do have left, they're not used to this kind of defense. They're not in the physical shape that you would hope that they would be in, because it wasn't the same under Lincoln. And so there was some issues there. Now, the longer that I've gone on, this is what I was trying to say was, since the end of the season, the more I've thought about it, the more you realize is that there was just that many obstacles in front of Coach Venables. And to his credit, he tried to tell everybody before the season that there was a lot to do, that you had to rip it down to the studs in order to be able to really build it back up into what you expect it to be. Now, that being said, that was going to take the kind of recruiting that Oklahoma has done. And something that we saw after the McCullough brothers, you have Daeh that was at Indiana. He's an edge rusher, linebacker. He had a great season for Indiana. He's going to be transferring in along with his brother. Both of them are 4 stars. His brother is a 4-star safety out of that area as well. Their dad is the running backs coach at Notre Dame, which kind of surprised me that they didn't go to Notre Dame, but here we are. They are going to be at yeah, we'll talk. As we talk. Okay, just to answer your question real quick, no, they're not going to start Jackson. I don't think they're going to start Jackson Arnold unless he comes in and just wins it. Which, if that's the case, if he comes in and just takes the position, something like what you saw with at Clemson a few years ago, as a true freshman, but you don't see that very often. If he was to come in and win it, then fine, fine. But I feel like you're going to get a lot more portal players coming. I think so as well. Yeah, Weston, you're right. I think you're going to see a lot more portal players coming. But with these two guys, that pushes Oklahoma into the top 5. Already, Oklahoma had the best recruiting class it's ever had in the 247 era. Now it's in the top 5. If what a lot of people think, and this is probably gonna trigger Coach Roybal. If Peyton Bowen does flip as everybody's expecting, it's probably a top 3 class now, which is way above anything that has happened at Oklahoma ever. And the biggest part of that being that you're going to have, it's mostly defense that they're building up. They've got some really, really good players. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's exactly right, Coach. That's exactly right. You had to get worse. But we said it, I've said it in previous podcasts, previous shows before, was that it had to break. It had to break all the way. And the reason that it had to break all the way is because of the fact that that facade that was built up there. And the facade is the same thing as what's going on at USC right now. Everybody's so excited about Lincoln and the Heisman Trophy and getting as far as they did when they were 4-8 a year ago. Everybody's so excited about it and triggered about us saying anything about it here. All right. I don't care that you're triggered, USC boys. I just don't give a shit. The facade is up. And I'm telling you now that Lincoln, as good as he is with offensive play calling and everything else like that, they are gonna continue to only do that. They're going to be great on offense. When they win, it's going to be 45-40, 45-42, 48-45, stuff like they did all season this season. It's exactly what's going to happen, because whenever they go up against a team that's tough, that plays hard-nosed defense, that's what's going to happen to them is what happened to them in the Pac-12 championship. Period. You know why? Because he doesn't change. He could care less. That finesse shit doesn't work whenever you get down to conference championship time, when you get up against a team. Coach Whittingham, to me, I'm telling you, I feel like that dude is the most underrated head coach in the country, period. He's beaten every big time, every big time. What is this? Now they need the Jimmies. Yeah, yep. You're right, CD. That dude has beaten every big time coach in the country, Nick Saban included. The dude just knows how to win, and they start with defense, and they're tough. They have mental toughness. They play a physical style of football, and that is not what Lincoln Riley's about. The first year that he was head coach at Oklahoma, yeah, they got to the Rose Bowl. They had Baker Mayfield. They had all those big guys. But you could see the next year when they went to the Orange Bowl, you could see that they were different. They were smaller, that Schmitty was gone. All of a sudden, they're doing things different, not getting as bulky. They want them faster. They don't care about size. It was different, okay? And that's exactly the best chance SC probably had was this season, and it's not going to get easier now, because I'm telling you, the longer he keeps Alex Grinch and keeps his philosophy the way it is, they're screwed. They're never going to play defense. They're never going to play defense. They're just not. And until you can do that, you're not winning national championships. He's already been to 3 as a head coach, 3 playoffs, got his ass whipped in all but one of them. And not just beat, his ass whipped. You know? Yeah, no kidding. Again, but going back to the recruiting for this season, what you're seeing is they're going to end up in the top 3 probably, because you also have Tassili Akana, who is, he's that 4-star, another edge guy. He's supposed to be going to, I believe, Miami. I think they have him going to Miami, but there's 3 crystal balls out on Oklahoma right now. Everybody is switched, including Wilfong. Obviously, Parker and Brandon are the other 2 guys. But when Wilfong is saying it too, that guy has a overall for his career. He has picked 3,660 out of 4,001 correct on where they're going. 91% correct on where they're going. So yeah, that's one of those deals where, yeah, look, you end up with that, you're talking top 3 for sure. They had already the best Oklahoma recruiting class in history. They're just making it better. So for all the naysayers and all the I'm so worried about what happened this season, it had to break. They had to get worse in order to get better. They just did. Okay. Um, it's Hicks is in home tomorrow, then OU Thursday. Yeah. With the ending tomorrow. Okay, yeah. And again, I've been kind of saying throughout the week, I feel like Hicks is the one that I don't really feel like they're going to flip. There hasn't really been any indication that that's the case, that that's going to happen. Why he's still going to stay going to A&M, I have no idea. But it seems like that's the case. Now, imagine if he does flip to Oklahoma. Wow. Now, can all of these guys play right away? Maybe not. Probably not. But it ought to tell you what's about to happen, And the truth of it is, if you start thinking about this season, and we've talked about this a lot, Bobby and I were talking about this, and we've talked about it a lot in the past, is that, okay, they lost 6. 4 of those were one-score football games. Just the law of averages alone, if it's, 7 points or less, one-score games, the law of averages alone means that's not going to happen again, say, next year. If they get in a bunch of freaking one-score games, they're going to win more of them, okay? They lost 4 this season, and I think 3 of those were by less than 6. Now, as far as when you start looking at next season, and on top of that, they still won those 6 games. Now, they had the bad loss with Texas. They had the bad loss with TCU. They didn't have Dylan Gabriel in. The quarterback room wasn't great. Aside from Dylan Gabriel. But I would tell you that yeah, exactly. I think it's definitely got to be that. You don't think he's going to flip either. I know, Coach. If we don't play Kansas State next year. Yeah, that's something we definitely need to get into before too long, as far as like how this scheduling is going to go with the new teams coming in. My thing is that they definitely need to play Oklahoma State 2 more times and not just 1. Okay, that would be my thing on that. But kind of going back to what I was saying, just so I can finish my thought. I feel like definitely you can see that it very easily, they could have won 8 games. Say they win 2 out of the 4 that they lost by 1 score, which they very easily could have. Think about the West Virginia game. They lost that stupid penalty that took the touchdown off the board. That changes it. They make a stop on that last drive instead of having an offsides penalty or something like that. That changes it. You had the same type of deal against Baylor. They had the interceptions were in the first half, but they had some stupid penalties towards the end of the game that kept drives going, right? It was things like that often in these games. Same with the Kansas State game. You have Adrian Martinez go crazy, but Oklahoma put up 500 plus, almost 600 yards of total offense in the game too. So little things that could have had the thing go either way did, for instance, in the K-State game, you had 3rd and 19 or something like that, and they give up, and the guy goes for, on a quarterback sneak play, he picks up the first down. If he doesn't do that, they have to punt. Instead, they go on down there and score. They win the game. There's 3 games right there that they very easily could have won had it not been for stupid stuff, right? Then now you're looking at an 8-4 season. Doesn't look near as bad as 6-6. And you still had a defense that was ranked 120 out of 131. Okay. It's completely different than what I would tell you with USC. Here's the time when I get to trigger the SC people. And this should be fun. Congratulations to Caleb Williams on your Heisman Trophy. I would say most definitely he deserved it. He was the best player in the country. I know a lot of people were pissed off about the whole fingernail painting, and it said F Utah on them. I agree with you. It was kind of classless. Now, that being said, he still deserved it. I'm just saying there's plenty of reason, coach, to be optimistic about next season instead of all this doom and gloom that you get a lot of from some of the crazier fans, right? That's all I'm getting at. They still have plenty to do, and you have to make those adjustments now. Period. That's it. You have to make those adjustments. Now, what I do know is this. When it comes to Lincoln Riley, he doesn't make those adjustments. He doesn't think he needs to. And according to all the fans and everybody else in Los Angeles, they don't care. They think that it's on the way, that they're going to get a ton better. I think they're not. But talking about Caleb Williams, great game or a great season for him. He put up, what was it? He had 4,075 passing yards, 37 touchdowns to only 4 interceptions, 69.6 completion percentage. That's a hell of a season. Hell of a season. Now, for the people that were saying Max Duggan, who had a great freaking season, by the way, as well. Okay. I've got a lot of respect for the way Max played. He ended up with 3,321 yards, 30 touchdowns, also only 4 interceptions, passing for 62.4. And really, that conference title game, that drive where he went down and I think he had 95 rushing yards on that drive and then threw that touchdown. They basically had to carry him off because he was so tired. What a game. And they ended up losing it. I felt like he got in when they ended up kicking that field goal. Or no, when they ended up going for it. I felt like he'd gotten in on the play before that. And then the running back didn't get in, but I felt like he had on the play before. You can say whatever you want. And, it was inconclusive as far as the replay was concerned because you couldn't really tell on that shot. Live, it looked like he made it in. Whatever. They're going to still be in the playoff. Thankfully, they're still in the playoff. But had it not been for, USC doing their thing and doing what Lincoln Riley teams do, they wouldn't have been in. So that would have been kind of a tough deal. Now, not necessarily to handicap as far as what's going to happen with the playoff, but they've got a tough out in Michigan. We'll see what happens. But I definitely feel like Caleb Williams still deserved it. He was without a doubt the best player in the country, in my opinion. I thought he was the best player in the country a year ago when he was at Oklahoma. We'll go ahead, bro. Love you too. I definitely felt like he was the best player in the country a year ago when he was at Oklahoma as well. Obviously, he didn't play the whole season. He wasn't going to win the Heisman over Bryce Young. Bryce had another fabulous season. I thought that he should have been invited to New York again. I didn't see where C.J. Stroud really did. Honestly, in their 2 losses, Bryce Young was better than his opponent was. Both of them. They lost by 3 total points for the whole thing. So I felt like definitely it was Caleb's to lose. It was Caleb's to lose. I felt like he won it. So that's just kind of where I'm at on it. I wouldn't have had a huge problem with Max Duggan doing it. And I would say again, was it kind of classless what, Caleb had on his fingernails? Yeah. But that being said, it was for him and his teammates and whatever it was that he was trying to do to get himself pumped up from losing the game earlier in the season. So be it. Okay. It doesn't change the fact that he was the man. Now, the other reason I feel like that's the case is because of this. They had USC, much like Oklahoma a year ago, had 5 one-score games throughout the season. They won 4 of them, lost the one to Utah in Salt Lake by a 2-point conversion, so they lost by 1 point. But they won 5 one-score games. A year ago, when at Oklahoma won 6 one-score games and a 7th one that they ended up winning by 12, but they were losing going into the fourth quarter to Kansas. Any one of those, any 5, 6 of those games, Oklahoma very easily would have lost, should have lost, had it not been for Caleb Williams. Maybe not 5 or 6, but at least half of those. Okay. The Texas game, there's no way they win that one. There's no way they win the Kansas game without him. There's no way that they win the Kansas State game without him. The TCU game, no, that was Spencer. But, I mean, all these games that he ended up having to win for you. Now, it's the same kind of thing. But it was very evident that as Oklahoma went, it was Caleb going. Same thing. As Caleb Williams went this season, so did USC. Same deal. And so that's why, to me, he deserved the Heisman. Okay. The last time that I talked about this, I took a bunch of heat. As a matter of fact, as some of you may or may not know, I got blocked by Lincoln Riley. Now, I don't get on Twitter and do a lot of tweeting at Riley or anything. In fact, I don't ever tweet at him. I never have. I don't care. I don't care that he's gone. I was blocked on Twitter because of something I said here, which is funny to me. I almost wear it as a badge of honor because I'm not doing anything but telling the truth. The guy doesn't win close games, and it's weak. It's weak the way that he does things. As I said, he had 6. He's not ever going to put the defense together the way he's going to need to. And all these freaking USC fans that come in here and talk trash on my videos, and then they go in and they start talking a bunch of shit on Twitter too. I don't care what any of you folks think. I don't. The simple fact of the matter is Lincoln right now is probably no. And I agree with you that. I would agree with you on that, Weston. I would. The thing is like, even in that game, I mean, what was it? He had 363 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception in that game. Okay. They didn't stop anybody, and then, of course, towards the end of the game, man, he was getting beat up. He got beat to hell, too. That being said, I can tend to agree with you on that. In the first loss that they had, he had 5 touchdowns and no interceptions, 381 yards. That's on the road in Salt Lake. I mean, hell, all you have to do is not give up 40-something freaking points and you win that one, period. Truth is, maybe if it was anybody but Utah, they might have. I mean, I don't know that they beat Oregon or don't. I think that they probably beat Oregon. I think that Utah has just the kind of game plan that's going to hurt a team like SC. That's just how it is. But I can tend to agree with what was he saying? Too bad this year. Yeah. So, I mean, whether or not we agree on the Heisman guy or whatever, who else was better? I mean, when you start looking at a guy like CJ Stroud, I mean, he freaking got his ass kicked in his own place. And that's 2 years in a row with Michigan, If Duggan, I mean, if they give it to Duggan, okay. But the one thing I would say about that is he didn't beat him in yards or touchdowns or completion percentage. He had him in wins. He had him in wins. But I don't know, man. It just, to me, I feel like I think it's supposed to go to the best player in the country, and I think that it did. You know what I mean? And he had to do what he did in order for them to even get where they got. Let me ask you this, Weston. What do you think happens if they don't have Caleb Williams playing quarterback for him this year? What does that football team look like? I mean, let me know. Tell me what you think. What does that football team look like? Are they close to the freaking conference championship game? Because I don't see it. Stetson Bennett. Hey, the one thing about Stetson though, hey, he won the national championship a year ago, and they lost the one game. Undefeated this season. If they don't win it, I'll be very, very surprised. Even though I believe that Georgia was, or I believe that Michigan is very, very good. I still don't think that they beat Georgia. And Weston, thank you. All right, good answer. See, 6-6. I said that the other day too. I feel like there's no way they're anywhere close to that conference championship game. If they were a little better, maybe. They went 4-8 a year ago. 4-8. So to me, that's why I say he gets the freaking Heisman, because that was the difference. They won 11 games this season, because of it, because of him. Because again, they had 5 one-score games. They won 4 of those. The other one, he had a major game. He had, 5 touchdowns and almost 400 yards. Even in the losing that other one, there was what? Losing the conference championship game, he still had 380 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Now, he got his ass kicked by a better defense, but Lincoln got out coached, plain and simple. And that happens to him when he goes up against somebody like that. Yeah. The one thing about TCU is that they fell behind a lot this season. They did. But that's their MO. I mean, they're not afraid to come back from anything. They were down 24-7. Yeah, 24-7 with early in the second quarter against Okie Light. And they came back and won that one. The next week they were down 18 to Kansas State and came back and won that one. And that was, I think, like right around the half that they were down 18. Came back and won that one. So, yeah, that's kind of their MO and what they do. And listen, I'm not even saying anything bad about Max Duggan. Hey, if they'd have given it to him, I wouldn't have complained about it. But again, when you just look at the numbers, Caleb had him everywhere, and I feel like he's automatically. And the other thing about TCU has a defense, they have a defense. They had a defense that was left over from the guy that was gone, from Patterson. Now they had an offense that was able to put enough points up on the board to win those games. I think that was the big thing for them. Now, again, I wouldn't have had a big problem if it had been Max Duggan. I mean, man, the guy had heart surgery or something. I mean, he had a serious heart condition before the season ever started that he had to have that procedure on. Listen, that's huge too. Great story, great story for Max. And I think he was fabulous, man. And I'm so glad that they still got into the playoff because of the fact that because USC lost. So, it would have been different. Had USC gotten in, they were going to get drugged either way by either team they went up against. It would have been Georgia or Michigan. They would have got their ass kicked there too, because they're kind of the same. That's the one thing about Michigan is they are built almost exactly like Georgia is. They can go up top, but they hadn't done it a whole lot. This season it was definitely maybe SC. SC had a lot of turnovers that they forced. Maybe SC was a little bit, but not by much. And in the end, I think that, obviously statistically, total defense, it was SC, because there was only 11 teams that were worse than Oklahoma this season. But again, I don't think that you can really judge that going forward on what happened this year, just because of the simple fact that the big turnover that you had, and you're going to have a lot of turnover on this team this season, right? Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely they would have. And again, look, even with the one thing I'll say about the TCU game is they were getting their ass kicked when Dylan got hurt. They were getting their ass kicked. They had already put a bunch of points on the board when he got hurt. Could they have made it closer? Yeah, maybe, but they were getting beat up. That was the one game that he didn't look good at all, even before that. And then, of course, the Texas game, he didn't get in the game at all. But I feel like overall, no, I wouldn't worry about. That's not even something I would concern myself with. But no, the Oklahoma defense was not good. Hawaiian Ice. But I'll tell you this: here's the deal. Bottom line is that what happened this year has zero bearing on next year. Other than these guys will have had, the ones that are going to come back to this team will have had time to learn this defense, be better at it, and he'll have some of his own guys in there. They're going to get bigger. Just the additions through the portal are going to be huge for the defense. We're talking about guys that are his type of players that are going to learn only his system. They're not trying to learn a new system in comparison to what they learned before. Okay, that's the big deal. Yeah, I think so. Yes, overall coaching, I would say yeah. Now, Riley, I mean, that's a good question, I guess. And it's a fair question to ask. At the moment, it's easy to say Lincoln because of what he's done with his teams. But what I would tell you was that, and here's what I would say, and Weston, I think that he wasn't ready for top tier Big 12. He needed that experience. I think so too. I think that what you saw out of Brent Venables that you didn't like this season, there's a few things, indecisiveness a few times it seemed like, and I also feel like he just kind of wasn't trying to be his own guy. I would hope that next season, whenever he's, and even in the bowl game, you'd like to see a little more of it. Just be who you are. I don't want him to be a stuffed shirt, and I don't think that anybody needs him to be. Whatever this thought pattern is, or this thought process is that you have to be CEO like and stuffy and all that crap. No, you don't. No, you don't. Be who you are. That's okay with me. And because look at Nick Saban, that he's barking up and down the sideline and everything else. It's not a great look all the time, right? But with the staff, yes. Thank you. Exactly. And that's where I'm getting at, is that where he made mistakes this season, those are fixable mistakes. And it's not, and he also, I would say that he definitely acknowledges those things as well. Lincoln's never really had to think about it. In fact, nobody's ever really held his feet to the fire about it until after he left Oklahoma. Because as much as I hate to say this, we all believe that Lincoln was the greatest thing since sliced bread too, just like the SC fans do right now. Right? You were talking about DG. Oh, I thought you were talking about Lincoln. Okay. Uh, Brent Venables. Uh, we all thought that Lincoln was just like what the SC fans think right now, is that he was great. And that it was just because of what was left and the Mike Stoops thing with him being left to keep the defense going. There was all kinds of excuses being made for Lincoln, just like there are right now. Okay. Because he keeps producing Heisman quarterbacks. That's what he's great at. And I think that he might be the best play caller in the country. Okay. Although once it gets down to important games and up against a different defense, he got exposed against Dave Aranda in the Baylor game last year. Exposed. He kind of got exposed a little bit against Oklahoma State. Although I think he was throwing that game. Whatever. If he wins that game and has to go to the conference championship, that screws with his recruiting. That's why I say that. And not to mention the fact that they ran the same play about 5 or 6 times in a row at the end of the game in the Bedlam game too. In the end, I agree with what CD said, is that BV with his staff is a lot better than the staff that he's put together at USC. And that, yeah. He was, look, man, the way he went out there and said all that crap, after the game. Yeah, I hated hearing that crap where he's sitting there blaming officials. And you saw him do that at both of their losses. They started blaming officials again this season, right? When they lost the Utah game, it wasn't that you gave up the 2-point conversion, jackass. It's that what happened earlier in the game. Yeah, okay. And look at the way he was barking and bitching about officials all season. He does that. He does that. There was always an excuse. The truth of it was the Baylor game, he got exposed. Dave Aranda freaking honestly, the last 2 quarters of the year before, they won 2 freaking games in the COVID season, but they almost had Oklahoma's number then. The second half, if they didn't have the lead that they have, they get beat. If they hadn't already built the lead that they have, they get beat because they didn't do shit for the entire second half of that game. So the last 6 quarters that he had to play against Dave Aranda, he didn't look good. He did not look good. Dave Aranda had his number. And it appears that so does Whittingham. Okay. He hadn't had to deal with, he did not have to deal with Dan Lanning this season. He didn't have to deal with, Washington. You know, and then the coach at Oregon State is a defensive-minded kind of guy too. That, yeah, he won the game, but he almost didn't. And they sure as hell didn't put up the numbers that you expect out of one of his offenses in that game either. I watched it. I watched a lot more SC this season than I like to admit. I didn't like Riley here. It was when he suspended Mayfield 1 series for a DUI and more importantly evading. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't a DUI though. It was a drunk in public kind of deal or whatever. That was kind of I don't know. I didn't care about that so much. But he was kind of light on anything that was going on. Yeah, it's going to take time. And you're right. That's the whole point. Hawaiian Ice is that, yes, it needed to be rebuilt. But again, in order, like Coach Roybal said a little while ago, you have to get worse before you can get better. And I've said this a bunch of times. When you start thinking about the last 5 years and the 5 years that Lincoln was the coach, a lot of things happened over the last 10 years, really, that made it easier for Oklahoma to not. It was like a perfect storm for Lincoln, but it was also a perfect storm for you to not really get better, to really rely on that offense. Because first and foremost, you had defections. A&M's gone. Okay. Missouri's gone. Already they had lost Colorado and Nebraska before that. But with those teams gone, and then Texas is trash for the last decade plus. Okay. And they're still not even back yet. Then you also had the fact that Okie Light is a perennial underachiever. Every time they have an opportunity to win that thing, they choke it up. Every freaking time. So because of that, it was easy to go and rattle off 6 champions. I'm not saying easy, but it looked a lot better because you rattled off 6 Big 12 championships in a row and went to the playoff 4 times. So all of a sudden, all is well in Norman. When the truth of it is, it wasn't. Because when they would get into the playoff, they would get embarrassed. They got embarrassed by Brent Venables' defense whenever he was the offensive coordinator in the first playoff that they went to with Baker. Got the shit beat out of them. Ugly. Then the Rose Bowl game, they should have won that one. That was his first season. But then look at what happened the very next year. Kyler Murray puts up even a better season than what you saw out of Baker the year before, and they get trashed by Alabama in that one. Then the next season again, they get smoked again with Jalen Hurts. Let me go back to this. Yeah, he didn't have the team. Anytime Riley's quarterback get beat, they say they were gutsy. Yeah, and that's the other thing is that, yes, and partly he was there for a few years, so he was part of the reason that they were good offensively. And yes, but Stoops' staff, that was a good team already. Yeah, he didn't. It's not the same for Venables. Definitely not the same for Venables. Not at all. Um, I would agree with that. I agree with that point. The bottom line to me is, I would say that when you look at it overall, you're going to see a lot of the same thing out of USC over the next few years. When they go to the Big Ten, you know, did I know? No, I don't think so. Why should I have coached? I don't remember. Where did he coach before? Um. Anyway, uh, I feel like you're going to see this over the next few years with USC. They're gonna, they could have a they could have another Heisman guy. I mean, I don't know that. I mean, it would be a first if Caleb won it twice. But the guy they got, Malachi Nelson, coming in behind him is a stud too. And because of the fact that he has coached 3 Heisman winners now, he's going to get more guys like that. And they're going to be playing in a new conference, so it's going to take some time for those guys to get used to him. They haven't played a lot of Big Ten. I don't think he's ever played a Big Ten school, except for Ohio State that year. But they beat them. But that was Urban. What I would tell you is that that's not the same Ohio State program now with Ryan Day. I think he's, I think that dude's like, I didn't know that, coach. That's cool. I think that he is Lincoln Riley light. I do. I think that he hasn't done anything to improve. When you get embarrassed like that in your house, I know Ohio State fans are pissed at him. Pissed at him. Well, that's after next season. So, wow. You think so? Maybe. I think that he's going to. I told Bobby this one time. I think that Lincoln's going to go to, as soon as A&M opens up. I think that's where he's at. So, I don't think it's going to be this season. And I've actually heard that from a few different places. I think that there's a lot of talk about Texas A&M, because of the fact that they have recruited so well. And he could go into a team like that, particularly on defense, make their offense better, and they look real good. Um, you would? Well, we might have to make that bet, James. We might have to make that bet. I don't really see him. Somebody asked last week if he was going to end up with the Rams, and there's no way, because he's nowhere close to the coach that McVay is. Nowhere close. But I could see. I mean, I see what you're saying. I guess so. Maybe. Yeah, I could see that happening. I think the dude is. I think the dude is an offensive coordinator. That's what I think. And so whatever happens, they owe him a lot of money at SC. So as long as he wants to stay, he's going to stay. And if you're getting the kind of guys that he can get, they're going to win a lot of football games. They're just not going to win national championships like this. Now, if he allows himself to change his the way things are, to bring in somebody that knows how to coach that defense, to change the way that their strength and conditioning program is, there's a lot of things that are wrong with his program. A lot of things. That'd be the only way I ever see him. This guy told me in the comment section of one of my videos, it's from last week, it was from last week. Yeah, I think early last week, maybe 9 or 10 days ago, that just like when Utah he said, he beat Saban into the dirt the first time he played him, and they've won a gazillion national championships, just like Lincoln's going to. You got to be out of your damn mind. Out of your damn mind. The dude's already been to 3 and can't even win a damn game. To me, you are who you are. And that's who he is. So unless all of a sudden he has this about face change of heart, which just doesn't happen with coaches, it doesn't seem like, most of them anyway, then no way. There's no way. I just don't see it happening. And most coaches don't have that foresight to be able to make a change like that. It's rare that you see it. Coach Roybal actually did. I remember when he was a ground and pound, but triple I formation guy when he got to Hobbs, and he had been at Texas where he had big boys that could do that kind of stuff. He didn't have that when he got to Hobbs. He changed. He's one of the very few coaches I've ever seen that have done that. And at the high school level, college level, pros, they just don't do it. These guys get used to their own way, and that's the way they're going to do it, especially once they've been successful with it. It was a different type of deal for old Coach Roybal in Hobbs than what he was used to in Texas. Way different, wasn't it, Coach? Yeah, I did not know that about. Okay, here we go. Built a team from nothing. Riley has everything given to him. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. They're probably going to end up at some point. They're going to play if they stay good. If they stay good, and they're probably going to stay good because he's going to recruit offensively very well. He's going to recruit very well. So they're going to, and look, here's the one thing I would tell you about, he only has one more year left in the Pac-12. That's probably a good thing for Lincoln, because the rest of the Big Ten, aside from Ohio State and Michigan, is shitty. It just is. For coaches or coordinators, yeah. Two of them. So Jimbo and who else? Who are we talking about? That's a nice little stat. Is that true, James? Who was the other one? You saying that to me? Yeah. Okay. But okay, so Coach, again, it's think about these guys. They get stuck on their ways. And I mean, I know that you struggled with making that change, right? I remember that. I was so glad you did. But even then, I mean, but you had to make that change in order to save the program at all, and you did it. Fell on your sword for it. That's one of the to me. I felt like you kind of, yeah. I know it was tough to do, Coach. I know it was. But to me, I have more respect for you when you did that than anything. And even though it didn't necessarily change things right away, you had to do it, man. There was no two ways around it, and you made the change. But the point I was trying to make is you just don't see that happen very often. You just do not see that happen very often. And a guy like Lincoln is just like a guy like Jimbo Fisher. They're used to doing it this way, and it worked. And, he won his national championship at Florida State. So, hell, I'm going to do it this way. Everybody is telling Lincoln how great he is, and so he's going to keep doing it this way too, Tressel was the other play caller. Okay. Les was calling plays at LSU? Yeah, I guess he was. Look, Hawaiian, you're right on this. That's the whole deal with BV. His coaching tree, the guys that he's been in, I would put those guys up against anybody in Lincoln's. He got to coach with Stoops at the end of Stoops' career, but not when Stoops was the man. And then whenever, they went and they won it. Yep, you're right. It does. That's exactly what I'm saying. And with Lincoln, his ego is way up there because everybody keeps telling him how great he is. And he's got 3 Heisman Trophy winners to show for it. He still doesn't have any national championships to show for it. Coach Venables has been on 3 national title teams. He's been in a total of what is it? 8 championship games. You know, he four of those each place. He had 4 different championship games that they were uh, in the college football playoff time. So they won the 2. They lost the 1 to LSU. That was a great game. But I mean, that LSU team was unbelievable. You just start thinking about that. But yeah, he's been around coaches that are different. And as much as I love the Pirate, I love him. I think he's a great coach. He wasn't really one for defense either. You know, it wasn't one of those things. Yeah, he played. Yeah, I think it was. I think it. Yeah, I know it was 8 for sure. Let's see. So it was the one that they won at Oklahoma. Then they lost to SC, and then they lost to LSU. Then they lost to Florida, and that's all the championship games I think while he was there. Yeah, it was pretty. I'm almost positive of that. Um, in any event, he's been around better coaching, championship level coaching. Yeah, giving BB facts and he's old school. Yeah, yeah, man. These guys are going to be okay. That's the whole point that I was trying to make at the start of this. They're going to be fine. You know, look at the recruiting classes. Get on there and look at this. In fact, let's just look right here. I will show you the commits. I can share the screen here. Oops, present, share screen. Yes. All right. Overall rank of 5th. Again, it was already the highest it's ever been whenever it was 7th. But look at these guys. All these, you know, Adebawari is unreal. This guy's he's the guy that can make an immediate impact. Petaway, nobody's talked a whole lot about him on offense, but this dude is, you want to talk about a burner? He was just as fast as Evans was. Caden Green offensive, but then you start looking safety, Makari Vickers. Makari Vickers is unbelievable. We may be having him on the show soon. Jacob Johnson's going to be a bad dude. Samuel Omosigo, unreal. This guy, man, I love that dude. Derek LeBlanc, you know, that them getting in there and getting a guy from Florida, that's big. Also having Lewis Carter. These are all 4-star guys. Cornerback, Josiah Wagner. Then McCullough, another 4-star safety. I mean, look at all these guys. Man. Keon Brown got his 4-star. I forgot about that too. But look at all these dudes, and even Ashton Sanders being a 3-star. I'm surprised that he hasn't moved up to 4. If you've seen any of his tape, that dude is unbelievable. Then McIntyre's gonna be really good as well. McCarty, I forgot about that guy. Yeah, he's gonna, man. Kendall Doby, the guy coming from cornerback. Look at all the defensive guys. If you want to look, if you looked at like last season, let's go to last season. Or Lincoln's last class. Now, Lincoln's last class, you had Caleb Williams, Clayton Smith, Mario Williams, Billy Bowman. I like Billy a lot. And he's still around. But then are the rest of these guys even? I mean, Gilliam, yeah, okay. They did a lot better on offense, though. You had Farouk, you had Cody Jackson, you had McCutcheon left with him. You know, but it was always going to be these dudes here, Mario and Caleb. You know, the year before that, you could go back and look again. You know, it was always about who they were going to get. And look, so that was their best class. The year before that, they were 13th in the country. That was his best class. Was the year before he left. But coming back to this season, well, we can even just look at this. I mean, guard, defensive end, Reggie Grimes, he's not around anymore. McGowan, I don't think he's here anymore, is he? And of course, you got Marvin. Marvin was a big get. Tight end. Perrion Winfrey, like Perrion, but he's already gone. Yeah. Eaton's gone. This was the 13th class, and then they had, most of these guys are, there's not a ton of these dudes even left, So let's go back to this season, the 2023 class. Already, it's the best in Oklahoma history, in the era, and it's the best part of its talent is coming on the defensive side of the ball, which is exactly what they need. Yeah, and for everybody that wants to stick with the for everybody that wants to go back and get all these receivers and stuff, I would tell you that that's the deepest position that Oklahoma has. Yeah. No, Drake isn't leaving. Yeah, these guys. In fact, it looks to Marvin Mims. That was something I should have brought up earlier. He hasn't officially said that yet. The only way he was going to leave is if he got a first or second round grade. He's not getting that first or second round grade so far. He's looking like third round. Almost, and everything that I've been hearing from everybody has been that he's coming back. So, Marvin's going to be back. You've got guys that are already there. I could see. What is this? Along with bridges in the country for robbing his weed man. Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, the wide receiver position though is full anyway. They just made another offer to a guy yesterday. There's guys out there. And that's there's a lot of those dudes out there. You're right about that. I would tell you that but like if you have you watched any Makari Vickers, that guy's unbelievable. Wait until you see what this kid's gonna do. As far same thing with Jacob Johnson and almost Seago. Wow, that dude, and he's a linebacker, explosive. And again, as I was saying, I really feel like, from what I can tell on Ashton Sanders and Taylor Wine, I know for sure got his 4th star. I believe it was from it must have been from On3. I think it was from On3. He got his 4th star just the other day. If you've looked at him, everybody was worried and concerned about not anything on Darian just yet. There's a couple of things. I'll talk to you about that a little bit. I'll send you some messages tomorrow here, Coach. Taylor Wine, though, moving up to that 4th, he looked a lot like what you saw from the kid that they lost back to Texas. I mean, the Texas guy. Anyways, yeah. Taylor Wine's a stud, man. Look at this dude. And they offered his teammate a receiver as well. So that's another guy that's going to come in when it comes to and there's other dudes out there. There are guys out there right now that could fill that spot if they needed to. With having a guy like that coming, a guy like Marvin Mims, though, coming back, you got to expect that next year he should be a lot better. He had some drops this year, but he still had 1,000-yard season. I feel like he's going to be pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, and they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that with him. Yeah, if you're only a slot receiver, there's no way you go in the 1st or 2nd round. No way, because they don't need to do that. Anything. They don't need to do that. So they won't. It will behoove him to come back for at least one more year and prove that he's the man, right? I can't imagine him doing anything else. No. Levy's not going anywhere, dude. He got a top 20 offense. Top 20 offense, man. In fact, it was damn near top 15. And so for all the crap that everybody likes to talk about that offense, the other thing is that these kids had to learn a new offense too. It's not the same thing that that Lincoln was running, and a lot of people forget about that. They do. They forget about that, but they still put up 36 points a game. They were ranked 17th in the country on offense. They were putting up plenty. if you weren't the 120th ranked defense in the country. Could Dylan Gabriel been a little better in certain situations? Sure. But he did enough. Are you gonna? Oh, looky here. Yeah. No, he didn't. That wasn't a good. Logan. It was a great year for Caleb Williams, not for Lincoln Riley. Knucklehead. Lincoln Riley, freaking guy. Lincoln Riley's trash, dude. If you're an SC fan, you should just split. You're not gonna like what you hear. You're not gonna like what you hear. So no, screw Lincoln Riley, man. That guy, you're gonna see what he does. It's the same thing that he always did. Anytime they play a tough team, a tough defense, he's gonna get beat. He's gonna get beat. They're always gonna put up points, but he's gonna get beat by coaches that play a good defense and they're tough. Period. Lincoln freaking Riley. Get out of here. Anyway. All right. Anything else, guys, that we want to talk about? We've been in here a little over an hour, actually an hour and 20 minutes before I end up into it with a bunch of USC folks. It was a horrible 4-8 team. Yeah, so what? They still got the look at what happened to them in the Pac-12 championship game. That's what you can expect whenever they play teams like that. That's it. That's all it is. Yeah, I know it was a horrible 4-8 team. That's why you guys think this is he's such a great coach, because he flipped it to that. He didn't have to play the best one there. You know what? I don't know. I don't know any better as far as what happens with Ted Roof. You know, I know a lot of people don't like him. And I think a lot of it has to do with he's kind of got that dry personality. He doesn't get too up, doesn't get too down. And so you don't really look at him as and I don't know anything about him before this. I mean, I know coaches pretty well, and I don't know Ted Roof at all. So I know that BV likes him. I don't know what's going to end up happening as far as that goes. And I don't know that he necessarily, I don't think that he was really calling the defense towards the end of the season. Logan, I could care less what you're talking about. I don't care about USC. You're going to see that Lincoln is never going to do better than this. Maybe he wins a conference championship when you get to the Big Ten. Maybe he doesn't. He's going to get outclassed by coaches like Whittingham, probably guys like Coach Prime, definitely guys like freaking Jim Harbaugh. He's going to get outclassed every freaking time. Watch. Just wait and see. I wouldn't be that surprised if he got his ass kicked by Tulane. He almost lost to him at Oklahoma last year. You do or you don't feel like that, James? You blame Helton for the blowout, knucklehead, freaking SC guys. You don't feel that way, or you do, James? I don't know. I know that Bates is there to definitely, coach up those freaking defensive linemen, because he's great at it. He's great at it. And a lot of people have given him a lot of flack over the recruiting stuff. You do think that's the plan? I thought, okay, because you said don't. So, okay. I wouldn't be surprised at it. It wouldn't surprise me. And I think that, listen, I like Todd Bates a lot, and I don't really have a bad opinion of Roof. I just don't know him. And so, and because of when you watch any of his press conferences and stuff like that, thank you. Yeah, he's not going to get better. They're going to be really good on offense, man. They're going to be, as long as they are playing the same type of defenses and they're doing things the same way that he's always done them, this is what they're going to be. That's what they're going to be. Going back to the Roof thing, I just don't know. I know that when you watch his press conferences, he kind of seems like a dry, you know what I mean? And just doesn't get too up or down. And so you just don't know. So is that motivating out on the practice field? Who knows? He's definitely not anything like how BV was as a defensive coordinator, spitting and frothing at the mouth and all that stuff. You know, no, I don't, but probably the bot probably does, Outlaw. I love it that I would let you say Skittle shitter. I'll say it out loud. I'll say it for you. But it probably the bot is like that. I still haven't figured out the whole thing on the bot, man. So I haven't really changed anything as far as that goes. I've got a few people blocked, but that's it. Of course I wouldn't do that. Why would I do that? I like you, Outlaw. You hate Lincoln Riley too. You still got to come on the show, man. I'd like to have you on the show. Yeah, they suck. They're terrible. That's what. That's Mike Gundy, man. And they're losing all their best players. What are they going to do now? Yeah, they're trash, man. This is what they do. A national champ. What, huh? Who's going to win a national championship with Auburn? What you talking about, man? I don't see that. Outlaw, what do you think of that one? Auburn and a natty. No way, dude. Hugh Freeze is a good coach, though. I mean, as long as he's not calling hookers and stuff like that, he should be fine. They're going to be a pain in their ass. They will. But yes, he is. Yes, he is. Hey, look, there's Adela. What's up, Adela? How are you? Outlaw's a poet with profanity. He is. Hey, man, he is indeed. He is indeed. I promise I didn't block anything for you, Outlaw. I'm glad you were here. Look, and everybody else is glad you're here too. Look at you. Adela, I'm glad you showed up. Thank you. Thanks for coming. She is a young Oklahoma student. Badminton championship. Who's this? Oh yeah. yeah, maybe so. Maybe so. But young Adela is a new Oklahoma student. Welcome her to the show, everybody. Thanks for coming, Adela. She definitely, yeah, she's fun. She's a good. I like to talk to her on. She's a good follow on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, Outlaw. Bottom 6 of the Pac-12 is built in cupcakes to prop up the top 6. Yeah, and to me, I think you're absolutely right because the thing about it was, and I know we've talked about this some. Look at it. I mean, the bottom 6 is absolutely trash. And then they didn't play anybody outside of the conference aside from Oregon playing Georgia and getting the brakes beat off of them. And then UCLA, I mean, UCLA almost lost to Alabama State at home. And then you had I mean, the only other, who was it that played? Oh, Utah played Florida, and it was a bad Florida team, and they lost. So I don't think much of the Pac-12. I don't at all. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, you're going to see with the recruiting and stuff like that, easily Colorado could jump right up with the coaches that they have in place with Coach Prime because of that, just because of the freaking recruiting, because the rest of them are not good. The rest of them are not good. So, dude, that was hilarious, man. Yes, link it here. Link it here. Link it. Put it in there. Put it in there. You guys got to the Skittle shitter rap. He's funny, man. Outlaw's hilarious. I love your show, bud. I love your show. You're gonna have to come on here one of these times. We'll talk about. We'll just sit here and trash them. So yeah, link that for sure, folks. I'm gonna go ahead and play this tribute video that I have for Mike Leach. If nobody has anything else, I will see you guys. We'll definitely have one on Thursday. Outlaw, if you want to come on Thursday, let me know and we'll do the live together. Let me know if you're interested, and go ahead and throw that in the link. I'm gonna play that other video, and you guys can. Yeah, that all day I have been all day, Adela, all day. So definitely link that video for me, bud. And I'm gonna go ahead and throw up that other video, and I will see you guys on Thursday, same time, 9:30 Eastern. That'd be 8:30 there in Oklahoma. And Boomer Sooner, we'll see you on the next one. No, that's not the right one. I gotta pull it up here. Hold on 1 second. Dang it, Jason. I linked the wrong video. All right, I'm gonna have to do it this way, I guess. Ethical powers Hey, I'm not exactly sure why I wasn't doing that, but that link right there, if you'll just copy that and put it in your browser, you'll definitely get to see that whole video. Sorry about that. Um, I will catch you guys on the next one. And I need to get that figured out because for whatever reason, it's just not going through. Anyway, check out that link right there. That's the whole preview video or the tribute video. Thanks a lot for coming, guys. See you on the next one.